writing an original song for The Wheel of Time Season 3, reading a bunch of books in between, and scrambling to finish some music projects before I leave town for the week. Hey everyone, I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem, and this is the weekly reading roundup for the week ending March 17th, 2025. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. I'm a composer, now also booktuber. You can find my music in The Wheel of Time Season 2 and 3, His Dark Materials Season 3, and the newly released Blessed Be the Eternal, the Idan trilogy main theme for Philip Chase's wonderful fantasy series. So, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the week, kind of talk to you a little bit about book-adjacent related things, like the music projects I kind of alluded to at the very beginning of this video, also about the books that I read, and of course I love to make this a dialogue. I don't like to just talk at you, you know. This is the whole point of this, is to create a community and chat with each other about books, so make sure to always leave it in the comments. I would love to hear from you, kind of know what you've been reading, any book recommendations you have, anything that you read on my list as well. So if you like this kind of video, please like and subscribe. And now on to the books. So, monumental week this week because, as probably a lot of you know, and for those of you who are new to the channel, we're doing an official Malazan Book of the Fallen, the 10 Big Books read-along channel on the channel. And so we are on book 2, Deadhouse Gates. And I finally caught up and I finished this gorgeous, devastating, powerful book. Now, I hear from a lot of Malazan veterans that the series has a lot of grimdark aspects to it, but there's a layer of compassion and hopefulness that kind of pervades throughout. This book made me say, you know, I really hope that comes soon because this felt more grimdark and bleak than anything, yet very powerful. I mean, you see where the characters kind of start and where they end up towards the end of the book. Felison always comes to mind, what she deals with the PTSD and kind of how she responds to that. Some revelations regarding her character and where it ends up at the end. But man, I blazed through the last, I think, couple hundred pages of this book in just a couple days. I gotta say, this is easily the best Malazan book I've read so far of the two. It is far and away better than Gardens of the Moon, in my opinion, because I feel like the characters are much tighter. I will say this, I think overall I liked more of the characters in Gardens of the Moon, but I like the way the characters were written far more in this book, if that makes sense. Things were a little less disjointed. You could see much more maturity in Steven Erikson's writing, and also how he addresses character flaws, character depth, and character arcs as well. So I really felt like that was a big thing in this. Chapter 22, I'm not going to spoil anything, but my God, I needed to like just stare at a wall after I read that because the stuff that happens is like, it is so grandiose in scope. It is so devastating. It is so powerful. It really highlights the idea that in war, there really are no victors as such. You know, there are losses on both sides. There is real consequences that people pay and loved ones have to pay that price. So, man, this is a fantastic book, fantastic read, but I would highly recommend to juxtaposition it with something a little bit more cheerful. Not like how I was doing, which was reading 1984 when I read this. So I wouldn't recommend that combo, honestly. But I will say this is a fantastic book. And for those of you who are a little further behind, I'm so excited for you to get to the last half of this because I think that's where it really starts to pick up. It takes its time at the very beginning, but I think it's for a good reason, actually. I think this is a really well-paced book. So I can't wait to get to Memories of Ice. We're actually going to start that in the beginning of April. So if you want to join us and, you know, you have some catching up to do, that's okay. We're going to have break months in between. So feel free to join us in the Discord. You can have chats there. Malazan veterans have graciously, you know, kind of brought their time and wisdom into the comments there and to kind of talk to us about it. So please feel free to join us there. We're also doing a chapter by chapter breakdown in the FABLE app. So you can also join that. That's free to join. So really happy that I read this, and I can't wait for us all to read the next book in April. So let's talk a little bit about other stuff I read. So I'm trying to pick through these here. This one, Chaos, Charles Manson, the CIA, and the Secret History of the 60s. For anybody who thought that the history was the free love movement, of course it was. But man, there was a darker undertone to even that side of things that I didn't know. I saw mainly the romanticized versions of Woodstock, which I think happened just a couple months before the events of this happened. And just kind of the idea that not everything is as it seems, even, 60 years later or 50 years later, people are still finding revelations about that time and about the players that might have been involved, both in the government and also in the celebrity circles at the time. So really fascinating stuff. I am only about a third of the way through, maybe almost half actually, because like a lot of the back of this is footnotes. This is 400 pages and some change. I'm around 153 right now. So I'm taking my time with it, but I'm really enjoying it. I think it's kind of a nice way to break up the other fantasy books and things like that with something very different. True crime is not the genre I typically go with, but I gotta say I'm really glad I did, because sometimes something a little out of left field is really fun to just break up your reading, right? And I gotta say, like, this particular time of American history is so fascinating to me. Like how there was there was the culture, there was a counterculture, and they were at odds with each other in value systems. And you see history repeat itself. It is very interesting to see from the context and of what was going on at the time. So really great book. I'm really enjoying it. So that's what I read there. Let's see, what else did I read? So interestingly enough, I decided yesterday, actually on Saturday, I had a little bit more free time, a few hours here and there. And I decided to pick up Of Blood and Fire. Now, this is Ryan Cahill's The Bound and the Broken, Book 1. So I'd heard that this book was one of the weaker entries in the series because it's very tropey. It is very much treading on familiar territory, I guess you could say. And I gotta say, I agree. The only thing is, the familiar territory feels really nice. It's like a comfort food. I'm glad I read The Fall, which is the prequel novella, before reading this one, because I do feel that the criticisms are warranted, but somehow Ryan Cahill makes you feel like you're having a fun time with these characters anyways. Like, I feel like the characters are memorable, even if they are archetypes of other series I've read. Like, I feel like this is like the Wheel of Time 2.0, right? Like the Wheel of Time Light or something. And it seems a little, it seems very close, let's put it that way. And Tolkien inspired as well. But that's not necessarily a bad thing if it's written in a way that's enjoyable. So I would say, is it breaking new ground? No. Is it mind-blowing? No. Am I enjoying it? Yeah. And sometimes that's all that matters, right? So I'm having a good time with it. So much so that I read a third of the whole book. It's almost 600-page book. I read a third of it yesterday, amidst other things I was reading, because it reads really fast too. So I would say, and this was my personal take on it, if you want to start the Bound and the Broken series, read The Fall first, because it gives you a better idea of kind of the series going into different territory, then you can kind of stomach, I think, the more tropey related stuff. If you only go into the trope stuff first, then you kind of get the feeling, oh, that's all the series is, and more likely to DNF it, right? But I get the feeling that that's not all the series is, just based on the heaps of praise that everybody has been heaping on the series. So this is also a soft read along, where a bunch of us are reading along with that, and that you can find in the Discord and Fable. So if you want to join us, we're not, you're not too far behind. You can join us always. So that was that one. Let's see. Ship of Magic, book 1 of the Live Ship Trader series. Now I'm reading this with John from Disquiet and Dragons, Ellie from Bibbidi Bobbidi Books, both dear friends of mine, friends of the channel, wonderful channels of their own. I'm linking them down below. And so we've been taking our time with it, because I think we're all trying to make sure we really get the most out of the story and not burn out. So I'm about 50% through now. So chapter 20 something. And I gotta say, it's just a solid book. To me, maybe it's because I'm breaking it up with other books, and I would love to know if you think that was a wrong choice, because, I always like to figure out how can I get the most out of what I'm reading. I will say, the characters are fantastic. I think the character work is better than the Farseer trilogy, the first trilogy in the Realm of the Elderlings, 16-book magnum opus that Robin Hobb wrote. I do feel like it is just smooth sailing all the way through. Every chapter is compelling. Every character is great. Is there anything that's mind-blowing that makes me go, wow, this is changing my worldview? I don't think so, but I'm really enjoying what I'm reading so far. If that makes sense, it's just a great ride, and it's a very smooth ride. There's no bumps along the road. I feel like it's, it's one of the better fantasy books I've read in recent memory, but it doesn't feel like, whoa, like I'm blown away by it, if that makes sense. And I'm only at the 50% mark, so we'll see where I stand with it, once I get a chance to finish. But I'm loving it. I'm excited to blaze through that whole series. alongside them if they're still interested in doing that, and maybe we can schedule a live stream at some point too. I don't know. I'll talk to them and let you all know in the community post, as I always do. But that is with that one. And then Night Shift, Stephen King short story collection he wrote shortly after The Shining, I believe. And this is arguably, a lot of people say, his best work. Now, I didn't get very far. I only read a couple stories after Jerusalem's Lot, which I spoke about in the previous weekly update, which I really enjoyed. The other stories were okay. I don't feel like they necessarily blew my socks off, you know? I thought they were like, oh, that's creepy. But it didn't feel like there's enough of a character arc, you know? I actually felt more of a character arc in Jerusalem's Lot, because you're kind of seeing this through the letters that are being sent. You're kind of finding out more about the characters through the letter. These ones I felt like were very mid to me. I'm curious to see what the other ones feel like. I gotta say, like, I've read a lot of Stephen King short stories. Personally, so far, I like the You Like It Darker, the newest collection, more. I felt like there were more compelling stories so far, ratio-wise. But this is the classic King creep factor. So I'm excited to continue on, but I'm only a quarter of the way through, so lots more scares to come, I'm sure. So let's talk a little bit about what I'm going to read. So as I alluded to at the beginning of the video, I'm going to be out of town, actually, this coming week for the Game Developers Conference. So my wife and I, Linda, so she started a game studio, right? So we're going to go up there and spend a few days and network with people and stuff. My reading time is going to be a little bit limited, but I had this idea that I figured out at previous conferences. There's 60,000 people that show up to these things, and it's very overwhelming. So sometimes it's nice to stand in the corner on the show floor, you know, in a quiet area, and read a Kindle for 20 minutes, you know. It's a really good way of kind of breaking up the monotony and also not feeling completely overwhelmed when you're reading, so or when you're at these conferences. So I'll get a chance to sneak some in. I'll be at my parents' house as well for a couple days, so get some time to read in as well. So I want to continue. Probably my goal is to finish Of Blood and Fire if I can. I still have a couple days before I leave, so I got some time on that. Maybe finish Night Shift if possible, and then dip into a little bit of Alaska by James Michener, a historical fiction standalone about the history of Alaska from its inception through 29,000 years to go all the way up to almost the present day. So really, really cool. Loving it so far. Didn't get very far, as you could tell, about 100 something pages. Don't know if you could see that very well, but yeah, I'm loving it. This is solid. In fact, once I finish recording this video, I'm going to probably pick this up. So that's one other priority. The other one is, and these are behemoths, so I'm going to leave those at my parents' house, but this one is Ships of Merior, Jenny Wirtz's wonderful second book of the Wars of Light and Shadow. This has books 2 and 3 combined, so I'm going to try to get through book 2 by the end of this month if I can. That's my goal. So I want to read a couple chapters of this because I'm really enjoying it, and I'm actually enjoying it even more than the first one. I feel very similarly to how I felt about Deadhouse Gates in relationship to Gardens of the Moon. I feel about Ships of Merior base versus Curse of the Mistwraith, both of which are great in their own right. But I'm really looking forward to kind of continuing on this train. So let's talk a little bit about what happened on the channel this week. So we are at 1072 subscribers now as of this taping. We got a couple more people on the Discord, which is really nice to see. So we have, let's see, 67 people on the Discord, all eagerly chatting about books, supporting each other's reading addictions, as we are wont to do. So feel free to join us. We'd love to have you. And the more the merrier. Honestly, it's just great to be able to create a community where we can chat with each other about books. And, you know, we've all developed real friendships, I think, through that channel and through the community that has been built. So feel free to join us. Let's see. I did one video besides the reading roundup. So we did only 2 videos this week. And that second video was actually a really fun one I got to do. It took me quite a few hours to actually put together. Was kind of reacting to 1-star reviews of Stephen King novels, some of the popular novels. So I chose 6 of them. You can check that video out up here if you want, but it seemed like a lot of people liked it. It didn't quite do as well views-wise as I'd kind of hoped it would get. So if you haven't got a chance to check it out, and that's something that would be interesting to you, or you're a Stephen King fan like I am, then feel free to check that out up here. But it was just really fun because some of those reviews, the 1-star ones, are hilarious. Like some of them, I can see the criticisms. I feel like, oh yeah, that's kind of warranted. I get it. Fair point, And some of them are like downright hilarious and maybe even absurd. Like, oh, Stephen King writes one-dimensional characters or something. Where I'm like, are you sure we're reading the same author? I don't know, because that's one of his hallmarks, is his ability to make a woman who works at a diner who's 80 years old or something like that, and 10 pages about that, equally riveting as anything horrifying or action related. So I don't know, but really funny time. And I think I got a lot of positive response from that video, and I probably will do some more 1-star review reacts at some point. So if you have any authors that you would want to see me react to, let me know in the comments as well. So let's talk a little bit about the channel schedule. So this is that reading roundup that's coming out on Monday here as of this taping, as you're watching it. So because I'll be out of town, I'll have time probably to do one more video. And I'm going to do that long-awaited 1984 review. I don't do too many book reviews on this channel, except for ones I really feel like, hey, this needs its own dedicated video. I feel like there's tons to talk about it. And I do feel like it's a book that is so prescient for the times. It was written in 1949, and it deserves, actually, ironically, it's gotten so much into the popular culture and lexicon that I think it gets dismissed as, oh, these ideas are cliche. But it's far more sinister, far more nefarious, and far more poignant, I think, than it's given credit for now, because some of those ideas have been so proliferated throughout society and societal consciousness. So I would highly recommend you check it out if you haven't, and I want to kind of pitch the book to you in that video as well. So that will be coming out probably Friday. Let's talk a little bit about the music front now, because this is probably one of the most interesting music front segments of all time on this channel. And that is because I finally could announce, after a year since I'd worked on this, on Lorne Balfe's team, I ended up being the sole composer, songwriter on a new song for The Wheel of Time Season 3. It's a musical number called The Hills of Tanchico. Now, the lyrics were written by Rami Park. I wrote all the music to it and sourced the instruments, and actually phoned into Prague around 5 a.m. for a couple of days and met with the actors and got to coach the actors on their parts. So it was just an incredible experience, and I'm so grateful to Lorne for kind of letting me spread my wings and just take the lead on it, because, with lead composers who are working on shows, they don't often do that. It's always been a kind of a running joke in the industry that's like, you see an additional music credit, and it's like, maybe they wrote like 50% of the season, but they don't always get the credit that they're due. And so the fact that he would do that and kind of highlight it, like on Spotify, it just says my name, which is incredible, and it's really nice to see that people like me, who are up and coming composers, that get highlighted like that. So it's very great. It's been really fun to see people's reactions to the song so far. And, I saw that there was a TV editor for Collider who said that, like, it was her favorite part of Season 3's soundtrack, which I'm just so grateful for. So I'm linking that video up here if you want to check it out. Sony has released the on their official YouTube channel the song, so you can check that out up there if you want, The Hills of Tanchico. And let me know if you think you can guess who are the actors that are singing in it. I would love to know your thoughts. That's going to debut a couple episodes down the pike, so I'll keep you posted when it does and link to that as well, because it is probably one of the proudest moments of my life musically. I pitched for The Wheel of Time as a series, started reading the books in 2019, and this is kind of a culmination of that. Lorne hired me, had me help out on other projects, then I got a chance to be the project lead and additional composer for Season 2, and then I got my own scoring credit on Season 3, which is really, it's just like, I always hear that word manifestation bandied about, and again, a cliche thing, but it really does hold true. It's possible, and a powerful sentiment that you can kind of bring into reality, things that you really push for. So really, really awesome stuff. And then I worked on a couple tracks for a music library, which I'll be able to tell you more about soon. But it was a music heavy week. And then I wrote kind of a main theme for my wife Linda's game, Magical Rejects, which is kind of a Sailor Moon inspired game. So very much looking forward to being able to debut that at some point, but it's going to be a ways away for that. We got to hire a singer and do a bunch of stuff for that. So that is that. And then prepping preparing for meetings for GDC, Game Developers Conference, because I'm reading with a few developers, a few music supervisors, audio directors at various game studios there. So just getting all the meetings lined up because it is going to be a hefty Tuesday through Friday this week, you guys. Meeting with a bunch of people and going to events and stuff. And I'm already tired, honestly. This whole weekend I've been exhausted because I've been going to quite a few events because, networking, putting yourself out there and meeting more people is the name of the game, right? So I always say, I hear it's called show business because it's the business of show, right? And so, yeah, I have to kind of keep putting myself out there, and it's great, but it is also exhausting. Like, I can't wait to get to a point where I can just sit and read for hours a day again. I miss it. But I squeeze it in where I can. So enough about me. Let me know about you. I want to know how your week was. Did you read anything cool? Anything interesting happened to you? Anything you want to talk about? Just get off your chest. We're all friends here. We have all been able to confide in each other, confide in each other about what's going on in our own lives. And feel free to whatever you would like to do that is most comfortable for you. So in the comments, on Discord, on Fable, love you to see you there. All right. So love you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this community. It means the world to me, and I know it means the world to a lot of people who's been looking for other fellow book lovers, or book addicts, as I like to call it, to be able to talk about their favorite books with. So be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. I will see you on the next video. Take care.